Have you ever been scrolling through YouTube and a video title just stops you in your tracks? One that feels like it's reading your mind? Something so specific, so eerily spot on to a feeling you thought was only yours that you just had to click. Well, you are definitely not alone. It seems like millions of us are turning to the internet not just for funny videos or how-tos, but for explanations of ourselves. All right, let's get into this.
It's a pretty wild question when you think about it, right? We're supposedly more connected than ever, yet we seem to be searching for this new kind of understanding, a language almost for what's going on inside our own heads, and we're finding it online in some of the most specific places you can imagine. You'll see titles like this,
And this?
and even this. I mean, these aren't just broad psychology topics. They are hyper-specific mirrors held up to our deepest anxieties and things we've never really said out loud. So what is really going on here? Let's figure it out. So to get to the bottom of this, here's our game plan. First up, we're going to look at just how big this modern obsession is. Then we'll try to map out the core anxieties these videos are tapping into. We'll do a deep dive with a case study on what I'm calling the silent scroll. Why is the simple act of not posting on social media such a huge deal? After that, we'll explore our powerful psychological need to give these feelings a name, and finally, what your own clicks reveal about you and, well, all of us.
To really understand this whole thing, we're going to zoom in on a single YouTube channel, one called Key, and use it as our source material. Think of it like a massive public library of our modern feelings.
So get this. Over 211,000 people have subscribed to this one channel. That's more than the population of a small city, all gathered in one digital space, basically looking for answers about who they are. And what's just wild is the sheer range here. This catalog of content goes from something that seems pretty minor, like treating your birthday as just another day, all the way to something profoundly existential, like the psychology of being tired of existing. It's the entire spectrum of the human condition, all packaged up into these short, digestible videos. Okay, so if this channel is our library of feelings, what are the main sections? If you start looking at all the titles, some really powerful themes start to jump out. We can literally start to map our collective anxieties. It really boils down to three major themes that pop up again and again. First, there's everything to do with social connection and withdrawal. Videos about cutting people off or just wanting to be alone. Second, the echoes of childhood, so content about what it was like growing up. And third, the search for self-worth and identity, that feeling of being behind in life or always pretending you're okay. And this chart, wow, it really tells a story about what hits home the hardest. Just look at the view counts. A common quirk, like forgetting names, gets over 3,000 views. Okay, relatable. A really deep foundational wound from childhood gets a big 51,000 views. But then you have this modern dilemma, the psychology of people who don't post on social media. And it has a staggering 3.2 million views. That massive number tells us something is going on here. It's so huge, in fact, that it deserves its own deep dive. And that's our case study.
I mean, seriously, this one topic says so much about right now. The choice to be a silent scroller, to watch everyone else but not post yourself, is clearly a major source of anxiety and a huge part of people's identity in this digital age.
Just let that number sink in again for a second. 3.2 million. That is not a niche feeling. That is a massive shared experience that people are absolutely desperate to understand. So what it really boils down to is this conflict you see here. On one side, you've got the public self. That's the pressure we all feel to share, to post, to perform our lives online. But on the other side, there's the private self, the part of us that just wants to observe or maybe even pull back a little. The fact that that video is so popular shows just how many of us feel caught right in the middle of that tug of war. Okay, so this all points to something really fundamental about us. Why is just seeing a title like that so powerful? It's because it takes this confusing internal thing we're feeling and it gives it an external identity. It gives it a name. The fancy psychological term for this is validation. But really, it's just that aha moment. It's that feeling when you realize, okay, what I'm going through is real, it makes sense, and most importantly, I am not the only one. When a video title perfectly nails your private behavior, it's offering you this incredibly powerful dose of validation before you even click play. And that's the heart of it, right? These videos put words to the things we feel but don't know how to say. And that creates this incredible sense of relief and connection. It makes us feel seen. Not by a person, necessarily, but by a piece of content that shows us we're part of a community.
So what does this all mean for you, watching this right now? It means your YouTube history isn't just some random collection of videos. It's kind of a map of your own search for understanding. It's a breadcrumb trail of the questions you're asking about yourself.
Just think about your own experience for a second. It probably follows this exact path. You feel something you can't quite put your finger on. Maybe it's that guilt of outgrowing a friend, or that quiet decision not to post online. Then, boom, you see a title that names it perfectly. That click isn't just curiosity, it's a search for recognition. And the result? You feel a little less alone, suddenly part of a tribe you didn't even know existed.
Ultimately, that's the real service these videos are providing. They're creating a new, crowdsourced language for the complicated parts of modern life, for the anxieties of being online, and for all those timeless echoes from our past. They don't just explain a feeling, they kind of create an identity around it. And by watching, we're not just learning about ourselves, we're joining a silent majority. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Take a quick look at your own viewing history. What was the last title you clicked on that wasn't just interesting, but that made you pause and think, wow, that's me? What was the last video that made you feel truly, deeply seen? And what does that say about the questions you're asking right now?